Commission meeting of August 23rd, 2022 at 5 p.m. The time is 5:04. Call this meeting to order, 5:04. Invocation, Commissioner Duggins, would you like to do that for us? Can everybody stand, please?
Heavenly Father, we ask you today to be with those sick, those families and loved ones that have lost. We ask you to guide those leaders across the world, and we pray for peace and prosperity for everybody. We always pray for those who are incarcerated that they may return to the public life in a better way. And we pray that you guide us here in this commission so that we may better lead our people in Socorro County. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the United States of America. Can we have roll call, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Amaya,
He's on the phone.
Commissioner Duggins,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Here.
Commissioner Zapatero,
Here.
and Chair Martinez.
Present, ma'am. Thank you. Approve of agenda. Before we approve the agenda, I'd like to recommend to the commission that we move on item 10, public hearings and presentations, item A, after we approve the minutes. And then right after that, a new business, move item B also, so they don't have to wait around. Is that?
She's got a smile. That must mean okay.
Is that good with you, Sammy?
Is it moving the audit?
Yeah, up to, yeah. Or do you want to leave it there?
I just have them scheduled.
Say again?
I just have them scheduled. So they'll want to start at like 5, sorry, let me check my calendar. 5:20, somewhere in there.
Okay. Well, then we'll put her first, because it's 5:05.
If there's enough time, and then that should be fine. I'll just have to,
Mr. Chair, if I may suggest, if there's a schedule, and since it's by Zoom, you could actually make it so that wherever you're at,
We can break.
you can hold the roll in advance, and then go to the audit and go back in. And so you can break the order, you can request that the roll be held in advance, and then go listen to the audit, and then go back and reconvene in the order that she wished to proceed. Yes.
Okay. What, how do you guys feel? Can we do that?
Sure.
Okay, then I need a motion to adjust the agenda. We'll put item 10A right after the minutes. And according to our manager, if it's not 5:20, then we can go to the hospital. A new business item B, and then break, and then come back because it's scheduled as a meeting. So, motion by Commissioner Gonzalez, second by Commissioner Duggins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed signify with the same sign. Hearing none, the agenda is approved with the 2 changes. Item 7, approval of minutes for August 9th and August 15th. Commissioners, have you had a chance to review those? Any questions or any concerns?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hawks, I'm going to reiterate again in regards to, if we can live, if I know time is of essence, you know, some of us have lives as well. And in regards to 9 o'clock, midday, you know, I made the request to Ms. Montoya, say, hey, let's do a 4:30 Zoom. If it's going to be Zoom, let's do a 4:30. You know, and I get a text back saying that, don't do that.
Don't do what, sir?
Don't smirk.
Actually, I'm not smirking, and I take offense to you trying to make that allegation. If you want to have this conversation, we can have it some other time, but if you attempt to belittle me or
I'm not
hold
trying
me
to
at
believe.
any type of contempt,
Okay,
we'll have an issue. Is that
well,
understood?
Wait a minute. Let's not get out of order. Let's do it.
so what I'm saying is, number one, I didn't say try to belittle you. I'm just making a point. I made that request for 4:30. Then I get a text saying that, hey, that it was okay with Duggins, everybody saying that, hey, it's 9 o'clock. And it seems like my requests are going to the wayside. And we really need to, we're the commissioners. We're the commissioners. And I'm pretty sure you know how everything falls after that. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be blunt. To receive that phone call Friday morning, it was just rudeness. And I was told that you were out of town for a personal reason, so I said, okay, you know what, I'm not going to leave him. I'm just going to leave him alone. And, it's just wrong the way how it was dealt with. And so be careful in regards to telling me, putting words in my mouth that, how I'm trying to even attempt to belittle you. I'm just telling you, explaining to you, hey, this is what happened. Meet with your staff, the rest of that.
Mr. Chair, can I have the floor, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for recognizing me and abiding by Robert's Rules of Order. First and foremost, when you say you be blunt, you're being blunt, and to be careful, that to me is perceived as a threat of some type of retaliatory action that if you don't receive a reaction that you perceive to be kowtowing or only abiding by you, then I'm in some type of territory where I'm threatened. So that's how I perceive that. I'll tell you the chain of events and explain to you how it went. And for some reason, you took offense to it. And this is not the only time that you've taken offense to something that I've done personally and tried to take action in an open meeting. So let me be blunt with you. If you want to have an open meeting and you want to talk about personnel issues, I'm ready to do so right now. If you want to hear the chain of events of how it unfolded and why you were upset about it, I'm still dumbfounded to this day because you were asked, we received information we needed to have a resolution because the people that were going to receive it had a deadline of last Friday. calls went out. I said, okay, well, we need to have, and because we have a 72-hour notice, we need to get it out as soon as possible because I know some people have a lot of things to do. So the call went out to each commissioner with the understanding that the deadline was last Friday. The information I got from you was that was relayed to me was that you wanted it on that Friday, the deadline at 5 p.m. I said, well, that's.
No, I said Friday anytime.
So that's what I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman, let's finish this discussion in executive session, please.
Okay. So you want to go to executive session?
Not now.
No,
Okay.
No.
Thank you for your guidance.
do we have executive?
We do give it. We do appropriate.
Is that right? But
That's fine with me. That's why I put it myself on executive session because I anticipated this.
Okay. Well,
It gets a little uncomfortable sometimes. It's a,
I'll go ahead and make that motion to, as you presented.
to accept the minutes for August 9th and August 15th,
Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Gonzalez. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Any opposed signify by same sign. Hearing none. The minutes for August 9th and August 15th are approved. And thank you for the report, for doing it. Thank you. Getting close to 5:20.
5 till,
What is it?
5 till.
They won't take the hospital. A minute.
So
Okay.
You're under the gun, Bernie. Knock it out.
I have a request of distribution of funds, and I also have a scope of service, an annual scope of service I have to present to you. So it'll take a little longer for me, so I'm more than right for it. Mr. Chairman, I'm fine. I'm fine. Waiting. It's all good. Okay.
And I can log in and see if they're ready now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Pang.
You're so
Thank you.
okay.
Recording in progress.
Mr. Bowers, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Sandy.
Perfect, okay. Chairman, Commissioners, before we get started, I'm just gonna pass out his presentation in case you can't see what's up front.
I can't hear you.
Is it on?
Tap on, yeah, now.
Good, okay. So before he gets started, I'm just gonna pass out the presentation in case your eyes can't see the screen there, it's right in front of you.
Thank you.
Sir?
Thank you.
AJ, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start.
Okay. Are you able to allow me to share the screen, Sam?
Hopefully.
As the host is disabled, the participant sharing, so we have to change that setting.
How about now?
I think you should be good.
Okay,
You're able to see it?
we sure are.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get going. I know I heard Sammy is a little muffled, but I believe she passed out the presentation to you. You should have a PowerPoint for it. I just wanted to say thank you guys for accommodating us remotely tonight in order to be able to do the presentation and kind of put this behind us. So for real quick, my name's AJ. I'm a partner with Carr Riggs. I've overseen the audit for Socorro County for a few years. And so we're just going to kind of go through a quick presentation about what summarize the June 30, 2021 audit. So also we'll talk about the timeline real quick, the audit reports, some financial statement highlights, and then just really some, I guess, some value-added suggestions, just things that we see that we think that are always pertinent to discuss. As we talk about the timeline of the audit, we're talking about the 2021 audit. So we're a little bit past the typical time frame. We're actually getting going on the 2022 audit already. We've got an engagement that started. So, but when I recap 2021, we had the date of the engagement letters was back in July. We worked on our planning back in July of 21. We did our field work October, November. The financial statement findings and the drafts were delivered in March. We had the conference presentation in May. The reports dated June 23rd, released by the state July 6th. So obviously that was past the December 1st timeline that was really due to the state. There was a lot of delays on component unit, et cetera. We don't know about that, so that kind of pushed where we can't put anything in about that component unit. We're relying upon that information, which wasn't available until May of last year. So that kind of delayed us. I know that the county's made some adjustments in those areas, and we work to move forward with that. So, as it relates to the auditor's report, so 3 reports in the financial statement. Towards the front of the financial statement, so that report itself is the modified opinion. That's over the financial statements as a whole. Okay, so that means that the financial statements are presented in accordance with GAAP. There's no areas where we couldn't render an audit opinion. So we were able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence to support the balances and numbers that make up those financial statements. So that's basically what we anticipated. And so that's basically a clean bill of health for the county that relates to the audit. In the back of the financial statements, there are 2 different reports. The first one is what we call the yellow book report, or it's the report on internal control with financial compliance. This is a negative assurance report. So what it states is that we're not rendering an opinion on controls. We will test controls. We will understand controls for the purpose of designing audit procedures and planning our tests around we also report anything that we find truly in reports. So one material there were 8 other matter findings that are really required to be reported in the state of Mexico, and 2 that are related to the component unit. So we discussed these in detail at the exit conference. They're all summarized in the back of the financial statements with all of the management responses. So I encourage you to go there if you have any questions. Of course, reach out to us and let me know. And then the last report is uniform value award on a single audit. We tested 2 major federal programs. One was COVID-19 coronavirus relief fund, and then the other was school roads and state programs. We have to test for compliance. We have to test the control around the compliance. We have to render an opinion on those grants. So that. You'll have that.
Recording in progress.
The highlights from the financials and some of the, I guess, from the audit themselves. But I like to kind of recap because as a commission, you guys are really kind of focused on what are balances, what are these items we have to make decisions with. So I like to put together some graphs here so you can kind of see it. So we'll go over the statement of position. That's your overall balance sheet. That's the county as a whole. It includes all of the fixed assets, the debt, etc. So as you kind of see, I'll go to the graph here in a moment, but assets, pretty steady 5-year trend. You know, it's gonna have a nice increase over the years, capital spending increase. The liabilities, it really follows. It's not fully following the NPL, but you'll see some of these adjustments. NPL is really that net pension liability. It's your proportionate share of ERA. That had an increase about 700,000.
Little disconnected.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Hey, Dave, can you hear me?
Is broadband gonna fix that?
Our internet's really unstable right now.
I mean, why don't you have them call in and the commission can follow along through the,
19 million. Been pretty consistent for the last.
Just call it.
So,
Just call it.
AJ?
putting and not recording. That's just that change.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, our internet's really
I can hear you, Sammy.
our internet's really unstable. Do you think I could call you and have you speak through our microphone?
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Okay, and you
Call my
can,
cell, you have it. Do you have my cell phone?
I don't think I do, but if you want to shoot me a quick email, it'll only take me a second to grab it.
Okay, let me go ahead and do that.
You still as if we were not.
That's my phone. I
Just send it to you again.
okay. Just a little bit before we close. Yeah.
Would it help if I got rid of the video?
It might, do you wanna, keep going until the email comes through?
Oh, I sent, yeah, I can go ahead and do that. It's better now that I killed the video.
Maybe, the email hasn't come through yet, I'm waiting for it to. But go ahead.
Okay. So if you're able to still see that screen, we were talking about those liability numbers and that middle line of that debt line. And that's just kind of decreased as you pay things off over the last few years. And then that bottom yellow is that net pension liability. That's the proportionate share of PARA that ultimately would be responsible for if you know, PARA shut down. And I know that's a legislative issue, et cetera, but it's a good number to understand because it has gone up over the years. $700,000 this last year. The reason I mentioned that is that affects that number as we look at equity. Okay, so if you're looking at 23.7 million in total net position or equity, that's the assets minus liabilities for the most part. That unrestricted number on the bottom is actually negative 200,000, about 171. But it's negative, and the reason for that is that's where that pension sits. So of that equity, all of the money that the county has is spoken for. It's either assets or committed to debt or committed for some purpose. And then just based on where that sits. And the reason I mention that is that affects your bond number. And so when you go out for bonding, being that there's all this money that's tied up in everything, and with those pension liabilities, it affects the bond rates. So it's important to know just as you work towards those areas. It improved from the prior year. So hopefully that'll be the same. When you look at the statement of activity, that's the income statement. So that's the revenue expense side of the county as a whole. So program revenues have increased. There was some upticks in property and property taxes, the groceries, taxes, gas taxes. And the expenses have been pretty consistent, and then there was a drop in expense to 1, about 1.9 million. So you see these graphs here, that blue line on the top, revenues up to IV, that can increase in something. So that's positive. In the general fund, this is the county's main operations. So when you look at the main operations, general fund itself, you're going to have a pretty consistent revenue trend. Of course, it increased a lot really for 21 from the last 5 years. The expenditures have been pretty consistent. There hasn't been a large change there, slight increase in a couple of categories, but not much. The cash was up about $2 million, $6 million, 17, 8.5 in 21. The general fund and expenses have been between 4.4 and 4.6. So very consistent, which is going to help that cash line. That cash line went up $2.6 million. So you got pretty healthy cash in the general fund. So that's a positive thing. Okay.
Madam Meeting, we lost you at page 13 of your presentation there. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm gonna put you on speaker and put you to my neck.
Go ahead.
All right, Michael. Okay, so we were on page 13 as we talked about the general fund, the cash investments. We recapped the previous couple slides with that revenue that really exceeded the expenditures over the years, which is increasing the cash. And therefore, we had about $4.5 million in cash in the current year. So that was a pretty solid increase in cash. That's showing good fiscal health for the general fund. As we move into the slide 14, we're going to just kind of recap on our responsibilities as we kind of wrap up. So our responsibility, of course, was in order to conduct an audit in accordance with applicable standards or auditing standards. We formed and expressed an opinion on the financial statements. It's not absolute. It's a reasonable opinion. We don't test down to the penny. We don't test every transaction. So we audit to a high confidence level, and we reported anything that we found to you as part of the internal controls. Didn't render as a part of the internal controls report. We don't render an opinion on those controls, like I said, but it's negative assurance, and anything that we find is reported to you, and we've communicated all those significant matters to you all. As part of the audit, the county was helpful. The county was, participated in the entrance conference, the exit conference. We sent the communication required by auditing standards. We're here having this board presentation. And so you guys were definitely in the loop as much as needed. Of course, if there's ever anything that you guys need from us, let us know. It is, of course, management's responsibility to put in programs and controls to prevent and detect fraud, as well as for the establishment of those internal controls. the accounting policies and the financials. We do prepare the financials as a service, but they are yours. They're prepared from the information you provide to us, and we just put them into that format. So lastly, as I conclude, use this as a resource. Sammy's been pretty good over the years of reaching out if there's a question. We've got training that we offer that's just part of the client. You'll get regular communications about training that's out there. If there's ever anything that you guys need independently, let us know. I know we've done some with the board over the years. We've done different projects with you all over the years as well. So when you have those needs, let us know. We're here to help you guys answer those questions. We can't make determinations for you, but we can provide our opinions and our best guidance and help you make those decisions. Lastly, with grant management, with the CARES funding, the ARPA funding, all the different grants that you get, it takes time. It's complex. Let us know if you've got questions, or we've got grant experts that work on our stuff as part of our firm, and we're here to be able to help share that knowledge as needed. And then lastly, we just thank you guys for the opportunity to work with you. We've worked with you guys for a long time in different capacities over those years, and we just definitely value you as a client. And we're thankful to get to work with you. My contact information is there. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to me. But at that, I will pause for questions.
Questions, Commissioner?
I'm good.
I have a question, sir. I'll refer it to Mike and then to you. We invested some money in Santa Fe. I think it was 9 million?
Yeah.
And is that in this presentation? That money that's up there?
Michael, could you repeat the question for me? I heard of an investment in Santa Fe, and that was about what I heard.
So I believe the chair's question is money that we have invested through the legislative bond. Is that included in your report?
Yeah, that's on the cash and investment side. It's that local government investment pool that you have invested with the state treasurer's office. Yeah, that's all in there. They had about $9 million, I think, at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Chair.
Go ahead, Mike.
So, Alan, what is the final finding? What was the rating?
What do you mean, the final finding, the rating?
Opinion. You're looking for the opinion?
Yeah, final opinion.
Oh, the opinion was an unmodified opinion, which means that the numbers can be relied upon in all material respects. Unmodified is the best opinion you can get. It means that we don't have a scope limitation or modify our opinion for any reason.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
So we're doing good then?
Yeah, like I said, it's an unmodified opinion on the financials. It's an unmodified opinion on the single audit itself, on those federal awards. So you've complied in all material respects with those requirements as well. Of course, there are items that are in the report that are related to findings. I mean, those things happen. People aren't perfect. It's been a crazy couple of years. There's some that's pretty low hanging fruit, but I think you guys will be on the right track there. So. But no, I think the county's got a pretty good bill of health there. The fiscal management, definitely watching what those, last couple of years, watching those cash balances increase, I think is positive.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
All right. Well, thank you guys very much. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Sam.
Do we need to do anything here, Mike, or just this is information?
I believe you can accept it as presented and make it part of the minutes, yes. That's correct. I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gonzalez to accept the fiscal year 21 audit presentation from CR-CPA,
Second by Duggan.
second by Commissioner Duggins. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, fiscal year 21 audit presentation, CR1-CPA is approved.
Thank you.
And thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next thing on the agenda is approval of Socorro General Hospital distribution of mail levy funds for second and third quarters of 2022.
Yes.
Ms. Pond.
Right, my turn. Can you hear me? Hi, good afternoon, good evening. I'm not usually here in the evening to visit all of you. So I'm here for a couple reasons. I have a letter here. It serves as a request for distribution of funds from Socorro General Hospital mill levy for second and third quarter of 2022. We're asking for the distribution for the mill levy proceeds to be distributed on July 31st, 2022 of $250,000 and on October 30th, 2022 for $250,000. And so I will need your approval for that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Duggins to approve the $250,000 for July and the $250,000 for October. Second by Commissioner Gonzalez. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, it's approved for that money, $250,000.
Thank you very much. So part of our agreement is that I give you an annual scope of service. So at an annual meeting, which was supposed to occur in July, I'm to present this PowerPoint to you. I'll try to go quickly and catch you up on some time here. So as you know, we are a 24-hour emergency room services. We are also a 24-bed critical access hospital, and what that means is we're greater than 35 miles to the nearest hospital, which is in Albuquerque and/or Sierra County. So that allows us to become a critical access hospital. In that critical access hospital, we usually staff our medical and surgical unit to be able to take 12 patients. We can go above that on the med surg department. So we have inpatient observation where you might just need to spend the night for 24 hours. You either get better or you get worse and can be admitted to the inpatient unit. We have swing bed services. What that means is if you're an inpatient anywhere in the state of New Mexico for greater than 3 days, and you need some sort of nursing service or physical therapy, occupational therapy, or physical therapy, you can become a swing bed patient. And it's a really nice transition for our patients to get back into outpatient environment for PTSD and OT. We also have inpatient cardiac monitoring. We're really trying to grow our outpatient nursing services, outpatient infusion. So we have under that, we have outpatient infusion where you can give IV antibiotic, IV therapy, blood administration, medication therapy. We also in this department is where we give outpatient COVID infusions and also outpatient Suboxone treatment in this department. In a little bit, I'll share some numbers with you because I know you guys are always interested in their numbers. We are very fortunate and in our state to have labor delivery at Socorro, to be able to deliver babies. Without us in the state, we would be from Las Cruces to Albuquerque, 225 miles with no labor delivery service, and or from Ruidoso all the way over to Payson is about 400 miles. So we're fortunate to continue our OB program in Socorro. So I have a surgeon, his name is Dr. Amrani. He's a general surgeon. He comes from Los Alamos. He's with me about 16 days out of the month, and he does general surgery at our hospital. We do have an inpatient pharmacy and we do not provide outpatient services in that department. Respiratory therapy, we have a long-term manager, George Lucero, who Joe went to school with as well as me. He is going to retire next year, and so I don't like it when these guys retire. So anyway, he does all kinds of tests in this department, and he's very supportive in any type of emergent situation we have in the hospital. So physical therapy is inpatient, outpatient, and home care. These are the services we provide. We have a TriCore lab on the inpatient side, and it also services the ER and the liver delivery department and the OR. The outpatient TriCore services is in our Socorro General Medical Group clinic. The other thing that's a hidden gem at the hospital is an audiologist. She is one of the best in the state. She's located in our physical therapy building, and she's very good at what she does. So radiology, so lots of services in radiology. So we have we can provide CT scans. We have a 64 slice machine. We have more mobile MRI. Right now we only have it on Monday and Wednesdays, and we're going to be increasing to Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays because we have the increased volume. Ultrasound, as you can see, we have those services. Bone density, and then we have an echo tech who is now coming from TRC to service us on a Saturday. We have assured imaging that comes about once or twice a month and puts a mobile truck for mammo. So I won't read all that to you. Excuse me. All right, so we're very fortunate. We have Tim Barrett. He's our ER medical director. He works full time. The rest of these docs on this list, Dr. Robinson works part-time in Socorro and part-time downtown PHS. Dr. Betcherman, he's a part-time hospitalist, and he's also a part-time ER doc, and he also does moonlighting at Presbyterian. Dr. Krause, Dr. Karimi, Dr. Meschel, all three are part-time here in Socorro and part-time at Presbyterian. Dr. Gertz is full-time with us, but he also works in Santa Fe and at Presbyterian. And then Robin Dennison, she is from Oregon. They just moved to Dabble, and she is a nurse practitioner that helps out in our emergency room. On the hospital side, we're very fortunate. Dr. Steve Stewart's been with us for quite a while. Family practice doc. I mentioned Dr. Betcherman. Dr. Tmidi comes from UNM. He comes and he works with us. Dr. Khan starts on September 1st, UND. Dr. Trista Hughes starts the end of September. She's family practice OB doc, so very fortunate to have these providers. Dr. Comstock will also retire on March 31st. She's been a family practice OB doc for years and years and years, and so she will be missed at the hospital. Dr. Julie Everett works downtown PHS and for us, and then Tanya Lopez is a nurse practitioner that works for us as well. What this means is these aren't rent-a-docs. These are our doctors. They're employed by us. So this is huge for our community to have these type of providers. Family medicine at the clinic. So Dr. Michelle Twico is our MD family practice OB doc. She's also our medical director. Dr. Jones works part-time. Dr. Karen Kennicott is our pediatrician. She works about a little more than part-time. Dr. Volker, who went to school here in Socorro and came back home. Dr. Trista Hughes is the one I spoke of earlier that's coming. Dawn Marion is our new medical director of the clinic. And then Jennifer Gregory and Christopher Chappell are new nurse practitioners at the clinic. And then I spoke to Dr. Amrani already. Women's health, so this is not only for delivering babies, but they do work. And so there's our list of providers. We do have a podiatrist. Tana Hudson is a very well-known behavioral health specialist. And then we have Press Art Group who comes twice a month, and also the perinatal associates come 3 times a week to see us. All right, and we provide home care and hospice. And our heritage department is an intensive outpatient behavioral health program. Our grant program is Firstborn Socorro, Circle of Security Parenting classes, and we have a parent-infant psychotherapy program. All right, so here's your numbers, buddies. That's what you like. So our ER last year saw 9,200 patients. We are on track this year to see over 10,000 patients. That average daily census for us is about 30 to 32 a day right now. Anything from runny nose to trauma, as you are aware of. Our outpatient clinic visits were a little over 17,000. Our outpatient radiology, respiratory therapy, our OR is about almost 21,000. We delivered 99 babies last year. We did 1,300 video visits, and we had inpatient admissions excluding observation swing bed. We had 518, and then as you know, we have 6 specialty clinics. We employ 191 people. Our volunteers gave 1,000 hours, and we did almost 1,800 home visits and offered flu shots, COVID shots, and infant mental health services. Any questions?
I just have a comment, Ms. Pound. George Lucero,
Yes,
when my mom was alive, she used to get those blood gases,
yes,
and those are very painful.
and very hard to get.
Yes, and George used to do them, and she said that she didn't suffer when he did it,
Yeah.
than anybody else. I think he'll remember who my mom was, Priscilla.
Yes.
So tell him thank you for all the times he did
I
that.
will. He's going to be missed in our community. He really is. He can fix anything and he can take care of anything. We're very, very fortunate to have him alongside of our providers very often. So then the last thing is this is a community benefit summary. So this shows you how much financial assistance we did in 2021. So it was $1.4 million. The mill levy, it goes to our overall operations of $1 million we get. And then when we adjust that, it's the cost to us is about not quite $500,000. And then the total Medicaid and Medicare loss for us at the hospital racks up to be almost $3.8 million. So we get about, on Medicaid, we get about 40 cents per dollar on Medicaid for reimbursement. So this is a report that is also required. The other thing I know Michael likes us to have in a line is the inmate count that come to the emergency room. And Michael Kelly has been working evening shift, and I'll email you guys that number, and I'll make sure the lines with the county and works very closely with the hospital on the inmate population. Any other questions?
Commissioner,
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead.
yeah, Veronica, Mrs. Pound, so you have how many new doctors coming?
How many new doctors did
You have, there's at least one I remember you said, right?
There's probably, I probably
Several.
have one, there's like 4 or 5
So-
coming. Mhm.
We also probably have some retiring. I mean, do they have room to accept new patients?
Yes, so that's the idea of bringing on more providers so we have more access to care. Today they had a provider meeting to see if we can even open more access to care. The new medical director met about that today with the providers. So hopefully when you call, we'll be able to pop you right in, and will improve.
Well, that's good to hear. And I would like to thank you personally for what you do.
You're so
You do
welcome,
it very
you guys.
well.
And you will hear out in the community, one last thing, We do have 9 open RN positions at our hospital. It is across the nation. There is such a shortage, but I'm proud to tell you, we have 9 new graduates in our community over the next 3 years, and we're gonna do our best to hire all 9 of those people, those young people, to come to the hospital to work for us. So we got 2 queued up right now to get them hired, and hopefully a 3rd one here coming soon. So just wanted to give a plug for that too.
Good.
Yeah, and if you know of someone that wants to come to work, you call me. Many of you have my cell phone. Thanks a lot, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go to item 8, committee and department reports. Acknowledge department reports. First one is road department. Art was here, but he left.
They've been busy.
Yes. He comes back forgetting. I just like to thank them, because in my area, we've had so much rain, and even in the county, and they've managed to kind of keep it going. On Thursday, we have a meeting with the forest, we might to discuss some of that, and hopefully we'll have some good news to kind of help them.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know that Art's coming back, but they were out. Thank you for the notice last night in my area there, just south of me. It's been all around, but last night it was just south of me, just a freak rainstorm, I guess, kind of isolated, and it washed out over some roads. They were there very quickly. I went to the scene myself, and the Socorro County men and the conservative men were all out in force, and they got it dealt with very quickly.
Good.
And I believe they cleaned out the drain. I think that was a MRGCD county joint effort.
The next item is Socorro County Cap Department. Did you guys have a chance to review that? Any questions on it? Comment? The next one is the Socorro County Extension Office. You guys reviewed the report? Any questions on that one? Hearing nothing, then we'll move on to acknowledge managers report, verbal. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. To start off, reviewed the parking lot at the Department of Health with facilities equipment. We had a sinkhole there in which a contractor filed a claim of injury. And also, we met with the road department to see what, if anything, can be done on the other side. The sinkhole was fixed very quickly, so that's no longer a threat. We're still looking at other things we need to do over at the Department of Health facility. Conducted a senior center walkthrough with facilities and identified final needs to be completed within the next 2 weeks if we need that. Met with Dennis Engineering to discuss other possible contributing factors to the 3 Tanks Road flooding issue that Chairman Secretarial brought to my attention last meeting. Dennis Engineering stated the following after following up on the issue pointed out by Vice Chair Secretarial yesterday. I visited the site of the roadway failure at Alamo. The roadway failure problem is due to failure collapse of the north wing wall on the downstream north side of concrete box culvert. These attached pictures. I am also attaching a map that indicates the location. This is a state road, which is NMDOT, so the intent there is to reach out to Mr. Doolittle and see what their intent is to do to address State Road 54 as being a contributing factor. And it goes on to say if this goes on with without repair, that there is definitely potential, and then he included some pictures that you can see up on what's going on State Road 54 and being a contributing factor. One really good news is that, as you know, I put in for several projects through the LTTPF. Again, put in for grants. And somewhat successful this year. We were tremendously successful. We received 3.64 million, 3,100,000 received for the 3 Tanks Road, and that is already through being designed. We're on the uphill slide on that. Received notice, I believe you received notice, Mr. Chair. The other 540,000 is for Shirley Bridge, and that brings us to a total of 2.34 million on Shirley Bridge, which we anticipate will be enough to get that done. However, there are some design phases where I have to meet with the owner. I'm meeting with Mr. Brazil on Thursday morning at the site. Ms. Morris hasn't contacted me. I sent her a certified letter, as I did with Mr. Brazil. I'm still trying to work through getting some property release for the easement to get that done. And the alternative to that is to tear down the bridge in place and rebuild. And if you do that, then people are gonna have to take the detour for about 8 or 9 months. So we're attempting to meet with the property owners, and again, I meet on Thursday. I did bring the county information and registered in the opioid settlement portal, so we should be getting information on where we're at on some of those, on that lawsuit. Answered numerous IPRAs. The number of IPRAs being filed within the last 3 months is easily up 1,000%. It is absolutely overwhelming, and they have very tight time frames, and there's review of videos and making sure that HIP is not violated and other privacy. It takes my review of the attorney, and we're all, sometimes it's almost overwhelming how much is needed within that short period of time frame. But I don't see any end in sight because everybody seems to understand now. I don't know if it's because of Senate Bill 4 or what, but it is just astronomical. I hit on Shirley Bridge. That we're hoping to start soon, and hopefully in the spring of 2023, and be complete within 6 to 8 months. I did reach out to District 1 on NMDOT. Finally, I was able to get a hold of Deborah Hudson instead of Tierra. Tierra left admittedly, and so I did construct a letter asking for permission to change the route and termini on County Road 91, Kaya de Minotaur. It looks like that's going to go through, so I had to call out to Mr. Matt in Minotaur Williams, and to try to meet so we can discuss, because I did do an appraisal on that property, so to meet and try to get a fair market value and get that done so that project can get underway. That's a 1-point-something million project, but at least we'll get some phase of it done. Continue intricate communications with state and other ISPs, reference broadband, and the committee reference steps forward and timelines. Sent out Zoom meeting today for Thursday to meet with the committee. That is to say that is absolutely intricate and almost overwhelming in itself is very understated. There's so much to be done in broadband. The cost is $63 million, so we're still in the game, fighting through it. Send out correspondences to the BLM, identified appraisers. The BLM is the one that identifies appraisers. We have to go with them. Everybody except one has definitely turned it down, and one's still trying to decide if they're gonna turn it down, so I don't know what we're gonna do if all the appraisers turn it down. And we have to hire them, and then they do the appraisal, and they don't even give us the appraisal, they send it to BLM, and the BLM has to send it to DC to see if they wanna accept the appraisal. So, and we're, again, trying to stick to timeframes from New Mexico Finance Authority, which has a litany of issues that we have to go through. And it's all culminates in October. And so that in itself is a crazy thing that's going on. Received confirmation reference the sale of Poladera property, working through that process with the attorney to get everything to the Board of Finance. That did sell above the market price. I did ask for a reserve above the market price because I knew there were some other things that had to be done, and it's sold. We listed that on govdeals.com, so that has been sold. I believe one of the commissioners has said with that money, they wanted to see if the commission wanted to earmark that money towards us and need it. I think once we settle with what we need to do with the Board of Finance, we'll bring that back, and the commission can decide where that money can go. Continue working on El Centro. We had another meeting, myself, the attorney, and the assessor, along with GIS mapping, trying to work through that on the special district. There's still a lot of things to do. We're starting to get somewhat of a footprint of cost and what property taxes would be, along with other taxes. So we're moving in that direction. And we'll probably have to have another meeting, probably at 7 now. Vice Chair, Secretary, that's your district. When we have that meeting, I'll let you know for sure. See if we can make that meeting. There's a high representation from that area. We had 34 people that signed, and that doesn't count their spouses that were there. Received a notice that our Escondido Lake Regional Recreational Grant that we put in for to augment the ARPA funds that we allocated is in the review process. So keep your fingers crossed, do whatever we can. Hopefully we'll get that. You can see with our regarding our year-out countrywide energy efficiency plan, the solar is moving along at the detention center. They're experiencing supply chain issues, some design issues. So at the courthouse, that's going to be coming up soon. Parking lot as well as solar here. But here's some of what's going on at the detention center. I included some photographs of the progress being made. And if you have any questions on it.
Any questions from our manager, Commissioner?
Talk about the detention center in regards to the cameras and everything. Is everything in place and going well?
Yeah,
No glitches yet?
No glitches yet, which is kind of amazing. We were seamless on that transition, and so it's been a good thing. So that kudos to the commission on that, allocating funds under pay-go already earmarked funds in tranche 2 to pay for that. Again, if it fell within all the pillars under treasuries, it's an acceptable expenditures. Everything's going good there.
Okay. Person, you kept out a while ago, but he's there now. If he wants to say anything before I go to the commissioner's report.
No, not right now. Had a little bit of money back there.
Okay. Give you a chance. Thank you. Item D, acknowledge commissioner's report. Commissioner Secretary.
I have none this morning.
Commissioner Duggan.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank the road department. I was out there last night, like I said, and they handled it, and they've been out on call. I saw you boys at the restaurant at noon today. And I thank them as well. And I want to say also, I have visited the jail not real recent, but a couple of times here not too long ago, and I found them very courteous and clean, and it seemed in a good shape. And we're late on chili season. Yeah, Veronica, you can have all the rain you want. I wish you would leave the rain out of my farm right now, but it's very hard on the chili. We're losing it. We're not going to lose it, but it certainly has taken a toll on it. And well, we just do the best we can. And I think we'll start this weekend, which is a week late. And it's pretty much across the state. We're working on the October the 8th Chili Festival. We hope that the community turns out in a big way, and we're going to also have a regional trophy, and we'll just see Northeast or West or the Middle Valley just who does raise the best chili. It's all in good-natured advertising. I think I got an email today saying that I believe the TV commercials advertising this event in Socorro are going to be starting. Our budget is quite a bit bigger than it has been, so we hope to advertise the event in Socorro and do what we can for the chili industry and the county of Socorro.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Not at this time. Just the only thing I want to mention, I was with you at that advisory board meeting with the seniors, and things are a little bit in turmoil there, and the employees are upbeat, and they're doing a good job.
How about the Warriors?
That's a personal, but yeah, it is football season, my favorite time of the year, and we're off to a good start. And I also know Magdalena won also, so that's good.
For me, commissioners, today I attended a meeting on Zoom. I was asked to join the Rio Grande Valley CASA, and I requested permission from you guys, and I asked from the attorney and Mike, this is a good thing. It's court-appointed special advocates to help our kids in need. I'm getting to learn a lot of stuff. They send me a lot of stuff. Right now, we don't have someone from Socorro. So I asked the lady to send me the information to see if we can get somebody from here to help us. There's currently 6 cases in Socorro that these kids need help. So once we get that, she's gonna reach out and try to get somebody for that. I also asked her to send me the information and request permission from the commission so she could do a presentation at our next commission meeting to tell us what they're doing. There's a lot of good things, so that way the word's out. I didn't know this existed myself. I told her I didn't even know this existed. So it's a good thing to try to help our youth. So as I get more information, I'll make sure to keep you guys posted. That's about it that I have. Okay, under public comment, do we have any?
I have one.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Chair. So I do have a public comment from Stephanie Zarate. She works for staff for the DWI. She's a grants clerk, and she emailed Mr. Hawks, and this is what she had to say. That Mr. Hawks, I know I'm still kind of new as a county employee. I'm not sure if there's some kind of recognition program, but I want to share with you my first-hand experience last night. My daughter Marissa and her two kids, Mackenzie, 8, and Noah, 4, were going home to Escondido last night from my home in Palmadera when they happened to get caught in a flash flood by Journeys. She called us, panicked, and not knowing what to do, we tried to keep her calm while we jumped in our trucks and headed to where she was. As a parent, and to hear your grandkids scared and screaming that the water was coming into the vehicle was probably one of the scariest times in my life. We only live about 6 miles from her, but it seemed like forever before we could get to her. Luckily, Art Gonzalez from the road department was out patrolling the roads and came upon them. My daughter flagged him down and he stopped and helped pull her and my grandkids out of their car and into his truck, and he kept them safe until my husband and I arrived just a few minutes later. I know this is his job, but he went out of his way and helped my daughter and her kids when he did not have to. Thankfully, they are okay. Her car was mostly likely to be a total loss, but that can be replaced. I'm not sure if there's anything we can do for Art, but if there is, I would really appreciate it. So that was from Stephanie Sarate. And so Art,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for reading.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Art, was that, I saw a gray little small car?
Yeah.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, I pulled them out of they were stuck there in the water was rushing down. She was a little bit panicky and I told her, it's really stuck.
Can you come to the speaker?
Yeah. Yeah, I was making my rounds last night because I heard the rain coming, so. And like Mike tells us, like if anybody's ever in distress or anything, make sure you help them out and get them out of there, And I did my job, and that's my job. I took out quite a bit of people last night, so yeah, she was a little bit panicky, so she had 2 kids, one was 8 and one was 4, so I put them in my truck. And that car was started to cry, and I said, just down a little bit, it'll be okay, I'll get you out of here. So I waited for her parents to come, and they stayed with me until they drove up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Art.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jennifer.
Welcome. Another note, Kim, thanks for coming up. I'd like to introduce our new secretary receptionist, Kimberly Chavez. Do you want to say something, Kim?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Kim. I'm 33. I have 3 kids. I'm married and I'm excited to be here. So I'm glad for this opportunity that I was given to work for the county.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
So that's all for public comment.
Okay, then we'll go to item 10, item B. Ordinance 2022-02, amending the Socorro County Personnel Ordinance 2016-02 to implement terminal leave policy.
Mr. Chairman, if you would open public or go into public hearing, please.
Commissioner Salid,
I'll make the motion to go into
Motion.
public hearing.
motion by Commissioner Gonzalez to go into public hearing, second by Commissioner Secretary. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by same sign. We are now in public comment.
Commissioner Gonzalez, can you turn your mic on? I can barely hear you.
There.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Then we need to roll call for that, right? Attorney, we need roll call for that?
Did you have, I'm sorry, yes.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Anaya? Commissioner Duggins?
Here, yes. Whatever.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Secretary,
Yes, ma'am.
and Chair Martinez.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if I might, I'll introduce this. I don't see anyone necessarily here for public comment, but after the hearing, you all can certainly make changes to what's proposed and adopt it as is, adopt it with changes, or of course not adopt it. Basically, our county personnel policy does not at this point have a terminal leave policy. And what a terminal leave policy is basically if an individual is retiring or that'd be one of the circumstances, or being laid off if there's a reduction in force and there's an ability to do it, an employee would be allowed to basically go home, not report to work and utilize be paid for the rest of for a certain amount of sick leave or annual leave that they have on their books. Some counties and organizations do this, some don't. There are benefits to it, and certainly there are costs to it. Basically, this sets out some very general rules for a terminal leave policy, which is one that you have to be going to separate from the counties, either in one of those two methods. You have to advise for instance, if you're going to retire, you have to advise human resources and the manager that you're going to do that so that they can make preparations for what they need to do. Generally, in a terminal leave situation, you would basically turn in everything, and you would basically be gone from the county. You would no longer report. You would just receive your payment until that time was out. However, this also makes provisions with the manager's approval if there's a certain situation where an individual does need to maybe intermittently report to work, whether they need to, which I don't foresee this happening very often, but they might need to provide training to the person who's going to take their job once they've retired or something like that. You begin at the beginning of a pay period. You do not accrue additional leave. The big portion of this, most of those rules are pretty simple, but really what the commission, if you're interested in doing a terminal leave policy, we really do need to discuss the limits of payout. And Commissioner Secretaro had stated earlier that when he approved the motion for publication, that he wanted to see limits. I drafted this with very strict limits, but that's just a placeholder. This board can make the limits whatever it would like, or it can say, whatever you have left. Basically, the way it is currently drafted is you cannot exceed your 280 hours of annual leave, which of course that is what it is. I mean, and you get paid out for annual leave at the end of your term anyway. So that one is not so much the issue. The issue is your sick leave. So under sick leave, under the county personnel policy that I think you all need to consider, you accrue a maximum of 80 hours a year for sick leave, and that's how many years you've been here, part-time, full-time. You're capped at a lot of sick leave in this county. That's 600 hours of sick leave. Some employees have 600 hours, and some of them have none. I mean, some of that has to do with how they take their leave. Some of it has to do with some people are lucky and don't get sick, and some people are not lucky. That said, when you're upon separation, the county pays you a sum of equal to 25% of the value of your accumulated unused sick leave based on the average pay. The other thing is where this is limited is this provides, currently as written, it provides for the sick leave incentive conversion, which is only 8 hours. So the way it is currently written is only for discussion, and that's for you all to discuss. But I think what you need to decide is, do you want to allow all of the sick leave to be paid out, or cap it at a certain number, cap it at 20, 100, 600? There are pros and cons to each, including, well, you know what, you've earned the sick leave, you should be able to use it. The cons would be, well, you've been here for 20 years and most of your sick leave was earned when you first started and you were making $5 an hour, and now you're making $40 an hour, and you're going to be paid out at a much higher rate. So Those policy decisions are really for you all to consider, but that is what's before you right now.
All right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Correct me if, thank you, Madam Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, but within that concept, someone doesn't necessarily have to be paid out. They can utilize their sick leave until they're ready to leave.
Under this concept, and it can certainly be changed, but under this concept, currently you cannot use sick leave for anything except being sick. This would basically say if you're going to, once you retire, then you don't have to show up and you can continue to be paid. We could change it to say that will be your payment, but the problem with that is you'll then be working and accumulating, you'll have to be paid additional para and additional, all your withholdings, so that will continue to cost the county if it was used as a wage rather than a terminal leave incentive afterwards.
So I just wanted the commission to be aware of that issue. Let's say we offer the cash out and or the alternative to use all of the terminal leave in combination with annual leave to then protract out their actual retirement date. So let's say they wanted to retire in January and they had a combination of 830 hours. Unless we specify, they could then protract out 830 hours, which is over 2 weeks, so they could actually go into March, which then would burden the county even more so, because we have matched PERA and everything else that we match and provide benefits. So if that's the commission's intent to allow that protraction to take place with that many hours, I just need you to be aware that the responsibility that the commission and the county then takes upon with that type of plan in place.
My question, Adrian, you said 25% of the sick leave that would be paid out. So in other words, if an employee had 300 hours of sick leave, that person would get 25% of the 300 hours?
That is the current payout policy view. That's your sick leave, correct? And you can also, every year you can convert 8 hours of sick leave to annual leave. You can do that every year, but that's the sick leave payout. So if you want to be consistent with the current sick leave payout, you could say terminal leave will be capped at 25%, but you're free to, of course, change that.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Commissioner Duggan.
so I've never worked for anybody, so I don't know. It's sort of foreign to me. But sick leave is sick leave. Good people have a safety net for those that fall ill. And that's what it's intended for. That's just what it is. It's sick leave. It's not vacation time. Not for me. We've been very generous. We've given good raises. We've given $5,000 a piece. We've given go home and work at home during Corona. Enough of that for me. And the policy that we do have a policy that pays 25%. Is that what you just said? Our current policy?
Correct.
That's good enough for me. Sick leave is sick leave. And thank God they have it, right? If you fall ill, we'll help you. Other than that, you're expected to work. What's wrong with that? And then you have to abide also by the new state law. What is it, 8 hours? You get an hour for every.
That doesn't apply to us.
Oh, it doesn't apply to you, just private people, right?
Just private, correct.
Let's kick them around a little bit more. No, not for me. You won't get my vote.
Okay, I have another question. If an employee retires and say that they don't have enough years on PRA, will this still work? So they can still get paid? In other words, what I'm saying, if they've been working for the county 10 years and they get ill or they get a job somewhere else and they say, I'm retired. Because with the current rules in PRA, as long as you have 5 years or more, you can be vested until you turn a certain age. Would that apply for those kind of people? Because, they could get a job that pays more money somewhere else, or I'm just thinking that if they had that.
The way it's currently written and the intent is this only happens if you're actually retiring, or it's not your fault that you're being laid off. If on the other hand, you're leaving to get a better job, then you go to this policy does not apply.
Mr. Chair. So, line 10 there, just erased it. Well, anyway, it's maxed out at hour per hour would be 430, 280, and 150, 25% of 600. That's how I understand that.
That's what we discussed. The way it's currently written, it's much lower than that. So what you all need to come up with an actual number. You currently get 25% of. Currently, you get paid 25%. Maybe I didn't understand.
Currently, so you worked your 25 years, you maxed out your sick leave, you have 600 hours. You're entitled to pay out 25% of that, so that's 150 hours. But you're also allowed to pay out 280 hours annually. So isn't that?
You're right. You're way above my head. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's how it is now.
That's right.
Okay. I'm of the opinion, I'm the opposite. I think if you're a 25-year employee, you did your due diligence and you're healthy enough, I think that they should be compensated for whatever time they have.
So you would like to not see a limit on terminal leave?
Well, just the limit of what you're allowed to accumulate.
Correct. I mean, so it would be, maximum would be 280 and 600, which that's pretty possible. But it's
No, it's possible and impossible. And also with transitioning out, in general, when somebody reaches retirement, they probably reached the upper end of their job description or position. It allows for transition if they were allowed to use some of their time and plan it. I think that's another admirable quality of a good employee, that he's transitioning out. I'm not just basically, to hell with you, I'm out of here, So that's my thought process on that. So I think it should be maximum and so forth.
Mr. Chairman, maybe we should call it gift leave, huh? If it's not sick, how do you give somebody, it's a lie. And I think we owe the people of the county something. We're taking care of their money. If you're sick, it's there to help you. That's what good people do. It doesn't mean it's a gift. Yeah. And a lot of people in this county doesn't have that are paying for it. And I think we better look at that too.
I got an email from someone on this policy. I'd like to read it to you in the commission. First, it seems completely unnecessary and cumbersome for both the retiree and the administration. The 6-month lead time seems to me to be arbitrary and absurd, burdensome, and pointless. I guess the notion to provide a way to pay out unused leave time when someone retires, that's good. But it should be simple and automatic, and it should not matter whether they are retired with PRA. I think you should trash the whole thing and go back to the drawing board. So,
It's a positive reinforcement.
yeah, well, they said that's what I thought they needed to be said there for the comment. Well, it seems like, me speaking, seems like we still need to look at some stuff and think about it. I think we need to table it. I would recommend a motion to table it and then come back. We have one commissioner who's not here. I'd like to hear his point also. That's my recommendation.
That's certainly fine. Either way, then you would adjourn the public hearing, and then it's when the action item comes, then you would place it on the next agenda.
Okay.
If that's the wish of the commission, unless you.
How do you guys feel? Or are you ready to vote on it?
We're gonna end it, let's end the public hearing first.
Okay.
And just for the record, for the minutes, anyone is welcome to speak on this.
Okay, I need a motion to end our public comment.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Duggins,
I'll second that.
seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying same sign. Hearing none, we're back in the public meeting. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Duggins,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Secretary,
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Martinez.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, item B, ordinance 2022-02, amending the Socorro County Personnel Ordinance 2016-2 to implement terminal leave policy. I make the recommendation that we should table it. I hear a second,
I'll second it.
seconded by Commissioner Gonzalez. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying same sign. This will be tabled till the next commission meeting. Thank you, commissioners. Under new business. Oh, sorry, that's it. Item C, consideration of resolution 2022-64, adopting a vehicle use and accident prevention policy.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, before you is actually, for the most part, our current vehicle and accident use policy. I will say this about it, the policy is what is, for the most part, is what, this policy is what's required by our insurance company. So most of the things in this policy are not, what Socorro County specifically came up with. It's kind of what's imposed on us by our insurance company to ensure that we have coverage. And so most of the provisions of this policy have to remain as they are. That said, certain things can change. And the reason it's before you, the sheriff, there he is, it's him. The sheriff has requested a change to a portion of our policy, which is currently under our policy, you are not allowed to take a take-home vehicle outside of the county, and unless you get special permission. If you do get special permission, then you have to reimburse the county at the IRS rate for the amount of miles that you live outside the county. So whether you live in Berlin or whatever, you get to take home a vehicle for, without charge unless you live beyond the county. The reason that the board passed that provision previously, the thought process was, the thought, say for instance, an emergency vehicle or a sheriff's department vehicle, well, there's a lot of deterrence with the sheriff's vehicle being in the front yard, and we want the deterrence to be here and not in Valencia County or Sierra County. That said, the sheriff has come up with he would like to extend it. I believe he said 10 miles, and he has reasoning that he would like the commission to consider that and remove so that would mean that you would not have to do the IRS rate until after 10 miles. So it's up to this board to control how vehicles and property are used. But I'll turn it over to the sheriff with your permission, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, Commissioners. So I know right off the bat it sounds, why would we want to allow people from outside our county to apply for a job here and us send our money outside the county? I know that sounds absurd. But 2, 3, 4 years ago, when we had a position open with the sheriff's office, we would have a handful or more applicants for those positions. Well, that's changed with the things that are going on in our Senate and all the way up. We're having a hard time recruiting people to come to our office. Right now, we have a position open and we don't have the pool that I'm looking for. I can tell you that we do have deputies in our office right now that drive an hour and a half to get to work. That's within our county. They're still within our county, but they're still driving an hour and a half to get to our office. The reason, and there's more than one reason for a take-home unit. If I have a unit at my deputy's home and we have a call, they're taking that unit from their home and they're responding to calls. Our biggest calls for service are Socorro North. That's where our biggest calls for service are. And if I can get somebody to apply that lives in Belen, early on into Los Lunas, up at the truck stop somewhere within that area, to apply for a job that's a good deputy, and somebody that can respond to a call in Bogota, be there in 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, instead of coming from Socorro, it's going to take 45 minutes to an hour, depending on if they're home or not. I need to expand if I can. And for me to recruit a good deputy and them have to pay to work here, they're going to have to take money out of their pocket to respond or to drive maybe 10 miles out of our jurisdiction into our jurisdiction. I may lose good recruits. I'm not trying to recruit outside our county. That's not what I'm trying to do. But even when we do have people that want to apply that may live that close to our county, I think it could be a benefit to our northern portion of the county where, again, is the majority of our calls.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I think that's fine, reasonable with me. All the police forces are under pressure, from the feds, from this governor, from everybody. I mean, I can see who would want to be. You're out there open for a personal lawsuit. That's from our state government. And if you need 10 more miles, and if he's got to call in Bogota and the man lives in Belen, he can get there faster than he can from. It's all right with me. I'll vote for that.
Any other comments, Commissioner? First of all, Sheriff, glad to see you here. See you in a while. So thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, Mike. Isn't it just a tax? Like when these guys take it home, it's not, they don't have to pay it. They just tax them on the mileage to the IRS.
I can answer that. You're talking about the reimbursement or general take-home vehicles?
So if somebody takes a take-home vehicle, the way I understand it, it has to be reported to the IRS. So that, because that's considered benefit and it's got to be taxed.
Correct, but it depends on the type of take-home vehicle. For instance, if you're a manager of the take-home vehicle, you get your report to the IRS and you're going to have to pay that as a benefit. However, if you are a deputy who is required to take home a vehicle, then the IRS rules change for that. And so you're generally not going to receive that being taxed on that amount. Now, it depends on whether it's a benefit or an actual requirement of your job.
So when we're doing it in the past, the people that were out of the county, we were charging those individuals what?
Well, the current policy, and I don't believe there's anyone outside of the county that it's ever been applied to, but the current policy as written says that if you live outside of the county, you have to pay the county back the IRS mileage rate. So if you live 10 miles outside the county, as the sheriff's talking about, then you would pay at this point, it would be $6.50 because it's one way.
For those 10 miles.
For those 10 miles, that's correct. Right now, the IRS rate is $6, 65 cents a mile. It changes every 6 months, so right now it's pretty high. But basically, if you set the limit at 10 miles, then they wouldn't have to pay until 10 miles. But if they lived in tier C, then they would have to pay that amount.
So, Mr. Chairman, 10 miles on the northern Socorro border, how far will that get you? Will that get you to the truck stop in Belen?
That'll put us at the truck stop.
Around in there?
Yes, sir.
Is that good enough? You need 15? No, it's to me, that's legitimate.
I also don't want to put a burden on the county. I don't want to put it beyond and then start exceeding it more and more and more until we've got people in Albuquerque wanting to apply, which I have. I've had people from all over the state apply. But we just want to make sure that if I do have some good applicants within reason, 10, 15 miles, that we can utilize it. It would just be a benefit.
And I do think that the sheriff's made a good point there, and the number of miles is certainly is, it's up to this board and it's movable. That said, in other counties that I've experienced, you're in a rural county and then you have somebody who's living in downtown Albuquerque. It does make a lot of the citizens pretty mad to see a Socorro, well, not because we haven't seen one here, but a county vehicle from far away parked in Albuquerque and say, why are you protecting that? Why are we paying for him to get home? So there does become it's a push and pull. When is it too far? When is it? And I would say, yeah, downtown Albuquerque is probably too far, but it's up to this board. 10 miles is probably responsible.
Would it get you to the Los Lunas exit? No.
It's close, but I'll take 15 if I can get it.
83 is a common. Yeah.
Would you rather have the 15?
15, yes, sir.
Well, I think with the problems of recruiting and
I have one more question. They have to be county employees to use the county vehicle, correct? Like a volunteer cannot drive a county.
No, that's not correct. If they're authorized, for instance, a fire chief can use a county vehicle. If you're a volunteer for a specific position, you may use a county vehicle. Because once you're a volunteer, like a volunteer firefighter, you're covered under our insurance and special para provisions, that sort of thing.
Okay, is this just for this year?
Yeah, no, just. Okay, what's your recommendation, Mike?
Chair Martinez, thank you, Sheriff, for that presentation. And I'm well aware of recruiting and retention problems in law enforcement. State police years ago used to have one-man duty stations. They no longer exist, really. I think state police even went to a 50-mile radius from your duty station. And when I was getting out, I had people living in Las Cruces that were stationed in Tier C, and people in Socorro living in Albuquerque. So, and I do understand the angst of that, because it took out law enforcement being localized and knowing their patrols and stuff like that. But in this instance, 15 miles is very reasonable. I think it helps the sheriff retain and recruit, and doesn't burden the county at all with that. And we have to remember 15 miles on all borders of the county. So 15 is okay, because sooner or later, somebody may say, well, why don't we do 25? Because we have a deputy that lives in Tier C and that southern border. But so I think 15 miles, achieves what the sheriff needs, and I'm all for it.
You heard the recommendation from the manager.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Duggins to approve resolution 2022-64, adopting a vehicle use and accident prevention policy revised to add 15 miles out of the county for the sheriff's department. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Gonzalez. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? signify by saying sign. Hearing none, resolution 2022-64, adopting vehicle use and accident prevention policy is approved. Item D, approval of September 2nd, 2022 fall break. Mike,
Chair Martinez, Commissioners, during the commission meeting in January, holidays were discussed. The fall break, as usual, was put out a survey, and the survey came back almost 100%. September 2nd as fall break.
that's your recommendation.
Yes, sir, it is. It's I'd be tarred and feathered, I guess.
You heard the recommendation of the manager. Do you hear a motion to approve September 2nd for fall break?
That's Friday.
Friday.
Yes. I'll make that motion. Even though it's still
Commissioner
summer.
Gonzalez, second by Commissioner Gonzalez. Second is the Friday.
Labor Day.
Yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. September 2nd, fall break is approved. Item E, consideration of property donation by Shelley Guerra and Alan Diamond. Mike,
Chair Martinez, items E and F, you have recognized donations by Shelley Guerra and Dean Diamond and Larry Michael Dennison to accept those properties to go on for the county to accept.
you heard the recommendation for both of those. Need a motion to accept the property donations?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Commissioner Duggan, second by Commissioner Gonzalez. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Donation of these two properties is accepted in the county. Item G, consideration of Black Smugglers Winery Alcohol Beverage Control Division permit for October 1st, 2022 Kiwa RV Park Balloon Fiesta Celebration.
Chair Martinez Commission, in your packet, you have a request from Black Smugglers, recommends a winery beverage control division permit for October 1st, 2022 at the park during the Balloon Fiesta celebration. It has to be authorized by the commission.
What's your recommendation?
I recommend that it does pass.
You heard the recommendation from our manager. We need a
Mr. Chair,
motion.
this is in conjunction with the regular balloon fiesta, they're just having their own gate there. It's not launching balloons right there inside of the industry.
Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner Gonzalez, yes, that's sort of around the same time. They usually do this. I think they did one last year, same time.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gonzalez, second by Commissioner Secretarial. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. It is approved. The permit for Black Smugglers Winery for alcohol beverage. Item H, consideration of submission of comments on the 3030 proposed and approved press release. Adrian.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, this board has already adopted two separate resolutions opposing the 3030 land proposal to take 30% of all basically private land and put them in a protected status. It's passed two separate resolutions opposing the federal and the state versions of these. What's being requested now from New Mexico-Arizona Coalition is to do two things. One is to submit comments on this. And I would suggest that your current resolution should be the comments, because the resolution is actually the most powerful form of comment that you can have, and it sets it out. And then also to issue a press release. The proposed press release is behind you, and it's up to the board if it would like to do that. Either one of those. I would suggest that the press release is just saying that is ultimately saying it supports the other comments that are being put out by the New Mexico-Arizona Coalition. As you can see.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Duggins to do what our attorney told us. Do I hear a second? I'll second it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign? Hearing none, submission of comments, according to what our attorney said, we'll do it with a press release and our resolution also. Next, designation of commission meeting date in lieu of November 8th election day. Mike?
Thank you, Chair and Commission. As you know, morning meetings are second Tuesday of every month, and November 8th is election day. And I believe the clerk asked that the commission consider moving the date so there wouldn't be any conflict of a commission hearing, commission meeting and November 8th election day.
Did she give a date? Because you have to do the canvassing also, no?
She did not give a date.
Mr. Chairman, I was looking at the calendar. I guess I would propose, and you may actually want to consider just having one meeting around the 15th. Let me just check the calendar really quick.
Yeah.
And that, to give us enough time to canvass and to give us enough, so let's see, yeah, I guess you're right, it was the 15th, so.
8 plus 7 is 15.
Not bad at that.
Okay, the motion
It's in the
from our attorney and our manager is to change the commission date to November 15th.
And have one.
And have that be the only meeting of the month.
Yes,
I'll make that motion.
time would be 9 a.m. again?
Your call.
It's at 9 and at 5, so we put
So you just said that. Say the recommendation of the attorney. You said that his motion. So we need some extra.
Okay. I need a motion to change the date of our commission meeting to November 15th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to change the November meeting to November 15th, 9 a.m. and being the only meeting of the month.
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Commissioner Gonzalez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? It is changed to November 15th. Okay. Item J, approval of solid waste bureau recycling and illegal dumping fund grant agreement.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, and in your packet is the recycling illegal dump fund grant agreement in which we applied for along with Valley Sanitation, in which the county obviously is the fiscal agent. It's called RAID, Recycling Illegal Dumping Act. We received the grant monies. I recommend they do sign. It's in the amount of $240,151.08. which will address litany of illegal dumping issues along with some other problems that we experience throughout the county.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gonzalez, Second by Commissioner Duggins. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. It is approved for solid waste bureau recycling legal dumping fund grant agreement. Item K, direction of staff regarding road department equipment. Mike.
Mr. Chair, Commission, I would like to have Art come on up to the podium and go through the different pricing that we received. We do have the agreements coming up in March. He can go through and give his idea, because he's actually met and looked at the machinery.
Yeah, we're coming up with a contract with Wagner Equipment, and pricing has gone up. And we went out to bid, and they're the only ones that have contracts with the state. So we go with state contract. And our lowest bid was with John Deere. I think it was $900 less. If we go with John Deere, because Caterpillar went up $900. So there's 3 of them coming up now in March.
This is for 3 graders?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Duggins.
are you have Caterpillars now?
Yes, we have 4 Caterpillars, and we have 1 John Deere.
Well, do you have parts that interchange? If you went to Caterpillar, is it possible?
What happens there is that the graders that we have now, they go back to Caterpillar because they're on lease. And they're already sold to the contractors already when those leases are up.
But
if we go with Caterpillar, we'll get 3 new ones coming in on lease.
do the guy, is there, your men, do they like to, what do they prefer? If
Well-
they're used to a Caterpillar, would it make sense to change to John Deere? And if you have, like, say, oil filters, or I don't know what they might use, everyday parts, they might still be able to use them.
No, we just buy the parts that we need when we're broken down. We just order them. We don't have them in stock or anything.
You don't keep anything in stock?
Just like the filters and stuff we do, but
Well, that's pretty pricey, no?
Yeah,
I bought
that's
some
pretty pricey, yeah.
back at $180 a piece.
I have Manuel, one of our best operators, and he's the one that I issued that John Deere to, and he said that's a lot better than a Caterpillar because these Caterpillars are too small. They're in 12s, and with the John Deere that he has now is 770s. He could push a lot more dirt than what he could with the N12s, especially out in this terrain. We had a lot of issues with Caterpillar for the last year, for the first year that we had them.
There's nothing wrong with that green paint.
And them being $900 cheaper, we couldn't go with the other vendor, right?
We go with the lowest bid.
You should go with the lowest bid based upon specifications. There are some other parameters, but like Mark was saying, based upon our needs, John Deere actually meets the price mark and actually meets our needs, comparability when the later operators are grading.
And we save some money.
Mr. Hawks, in terms of our current relationship, maintenance and everything, how's that relationship right now?
These are leased equipment, so our relationship is always fairly decent. Sometimes Caterpillar takes.
Yeah, we mostly have to pay for when we take it up. And that agreement that they made, they say that it wasn't in the agreement, in which we went with John Deere. That agreement's in there, so they come down and they work on the equipment. We don't have to take it up.
That's a big advantage.
Yeah, so we don't have to waste our diesel and waste our loading up on the transport and taking it over. Cause they won't come and pick it up, we have to deliver it.
Don't let them.
Whenever we deliver that, we're talking about the 42-foot trailer going up, right?
Yeah.
And of course, how much would that be, like, one trip like that?
More than 900.
So your recommendation, Art, is to accept the John Deere's, as we heard from manager also.
Yes, sir.
You heard the recommendations, commissioners. Need a motion to direct staff for the road department equipment.
I'll make the motion to go with the recommendation of the manager and the head of the road department with John Deere.
I'll second that. Or go ahead, Craig.
Second by Commissioner Secretarial. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Go ahead and give it to John Deere.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item L, acknowledge personnel changes. You had a chance to review the personnel changes?
No, Mr. Chairman, maybe I could bring this up now. Adrian is Attorney Nance, I'm sorry. Is it possible to put the personnel changes, the vendor checks and the employee pay? We have it all, it's all provided on the internet, right? It's all open to the public to review. We have it to review. Could we not package that? If not in this meeting, for future?
I mean, package it as far as, well,
Pass it in one,
you certainly can pass it in one motion. It does have to be listed individually.
yeah, we could say we're going to make a motion to pass the employee changes, whatever, as presented, and the vendor checks as presented.
Absolutely, you have the ability to do that in one motion, absolutely.
I think we have a lot of waste in these meetings. My opinion. Well, then I'll make the motion then I'll make, I didn't know if we could do it right now today, Joe, but if we can, go ahead and I'll make the motion that we accept the employee changes as presented, the vendor checks as presented, and the employees pay as presented, and one package.
Attorney Nance, do we need to specify the amounts or no?
If it's as presented, you don't have to specify the amount side. The county often likes to do that just so to read it into the record, but it is already in the record if you'd like to do it as such. That's completely discretion of the board.
Well, there's my motion to pass it the way it's written.
But we will still receive.
You'll still see.
Yeah, yeah.
Pass it.
This isn't changing any way it's presented, it's just approval, just the motion just for this particular meeting, and if someone would like to make the same motion next meeting, then certainly.
And if somebody has a question of a certain item, something that's free to bring it up.
Okay.
I really like to, I'm usually quick in terms of being true to the punch, so I guess I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay.
Doing the payroll check.
Well, the motion is by Commissioner Duggins and seconded by Commissioner Secretarial that we combine it, acknowledge the personnel changes, approve the vendor checks, and approve the payroll checks. Correct?
As presented.
As presented. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Personnel changes are accepted. Approval of vendor checks also. Approval of payroll checks. Executive session, motion and roll call vote.
Thank you very much for including the personnel changes from 7/12 as well. Thank you.
executive session, motion and roll call vote to go into executive session and that pursuant to New Mexico State Statute, section 10-15-1, only the following matters will be discussed in closed session. A, personnel, I, county manager. I need a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Duggins, second by myself. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Duggins,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Secretary,
Yes, ma'am.
and Chair Martinez.
Yes, ma'am. We are in executive session.
And then in the beginning of our meetings, we could also, if we go to put the minutes, the approval of the agenda in one, I'm so sweet too. That motion, right? Okay. Yes, you can.
Okay, we're live now.
Okay, I need a motion and vote to return to regular session.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gonzalez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Duggins. Roll call vote?
Commissioner Duggins,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Secretary,
Yes, ma'am.
the Chair Martinez.
Yes, ma'am. All matters discussed in closed session were limited to those specified motion for closure and that no final action was taken as per the
Wait, that's fine.
section 10-15-1. Next commission meeting is September 13th.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, no, never mind. I'm in November. I'm sorry.
we'll see you in November.
That's a Freudian slip.
September 13th. Okay, we are adjourned. At
Good night.
8:47?
No, 7:48.
7:48.
Joe had left the building. Don't say 8:47. It's like,
Sorry.
Lord, 3 hours past my